Okay, so we want to talk about another new issue, even though it's not for midterm exam, but after midterm exam, we still have to discuss this issue. So if you don't understand the after midterm exam, it's quite hard for you to understand the following issues, okay? So far, how many issues we've done? The first issue, cost, right? The second issue, additional cost is our expense or our assets. Then we talk about the third issue and also the most important issue in this chapter. So the third issue I want to talk about depreciation, 折旧. So what does it mean, depreciation, 折旧? When you got your laptop, when you got your motorcycle, you start to use it. They're still the same. After you use your laptop motorcycle 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, they are still the same? Of course not, right? So we talk about that. Hey, please don't use your cell phone. It's already 3 minutes, right? So we talk about the third and also most important issue, depreciation. So what does it mean? What if you buy your dream car in the beginning? So this is my dream car on 2025, first day, you spent $1,000 to buy the dream car. How much it is? $1,000. For how long? I expect to use it for 5 years, okay? So do you know how to get the 1,000? It's 1 plus 2, right? So what's 1? Purchase price. What's 2? Make it ready for use, right? After I find out the cost, 1 plus 2 is 1,000. And I expect to use it 5 years. Do you think after 1 year, the same? No, it's not the same, right? After 2 years, the same? No, it's not. After 3 years, the same? It's not, right? So when I start to use my PPE, you should understand they will not be the same, okay? Then how about useful life? After I use it 1 year, then my useful life at the second year, only 4 years left, right? How about I use it 2 years, then my useful life only 3 years left, right? So on, okay? So for useful life should be decreasing after you use it. How about the value? Still $1,000? Of course not, right? So the value should be decreased as well. When I use it, then my value should be decreased, okay? The problem is, do you know what's the value at the second year? What's the value at the third year? What's the value at the fourth year, okay? So the problem is, I know the value decrease after you use it, and the useful life decrease. But the problem is how much it is for your PPE, okay? So our problem is, we try to find out how much for my PPE each year, okay? So based on this, I know my assets have only 4 years left. So can you tell me, before I have a useful life for 5 years, right now I have a useful life only 4 years. Why? Because you used your PPE 1 year, right? So you have a useful life only 4 years. Why is that? Because you used your car PPE 1 year. Okay? Can you tell me? You use your PPE 1 year. So for that 1 year, do you have a future economic benefit for that 1 year? Of course not, right? Because you have a future economic benefit only 4 years. So for that 1 year, you used this part. No future economic benefit. Okay? So remember, for that 1 year I used already, so they cannot help us in the future. So what we call expense, right? Remember, I have a future economic benefit, that's my assets. No future economic benefit means I spend the money right here cannot help us anymore in the future. So that's what? Our expense, okay? So I have a expense 1 year because I used already. There's no future economic benefit. So that 1 year is our expense, okay? I used 1 year, no future economic benefit. So that's my expense 1 year. How about second year? I used my PPE 2 years already, right? So your useful life, I can use my car only 3 years left. So what does it mean? It means you used your car 2 years, right? So I used my car 2 years. So that should be my expense, right? So I have expense 2 years. Why? Because you used your PPE 2 years. So that part I used already. No future economic benefit. Okay? So how about third year? I used my car 3 years already. So what does it mean? It means your useful life, you have 2 years only. Okay? So the car can bring you future economic benefit, can help you only 2 years. How about the other 3 years? You used already, okay? Since I used already, no future economic benefit. That's my expense. Okay? So did you find out? In the beginning, I have the car. I can use it 5 years. When you start to use it 1 year, so you can use the car 4 years left. So you use the car 1 year already. That will make your car's value decrease, right? So that's our expense. How about you use your car 2 years? So the value continue decrease for how long? 2 years because you use it 2 years. Okay? Any questions? So that's our concept. When you start to use your PPE will not be the same anymore. Your PPE's value decreasing. When you use it more, value decreasing more, okay? Like what? Like you. When you use your body more, so your body is getting older and older, right? So it means what? Means your value should be decreased, right? Okay? So for that, about PPE, they expense. They expense about PPE, we call it depreciation expense. 折旧费用. So for that expense, about PPE, when we use it, its value decrease. We call it depreciation expense. 折旧费用. Okay? Any questions? No problem? Okay. So what does it mean, depreciation, 折旧? Depreciation, 折旧 means what? When you start to use your PPE's value decrease, right? Then why is value decrease? For example, useful life decrease. They cannot help you for that 1 year anymore, right? So depreciation, 折旧, we use that to describe your PPE's value ability decrease. So that's depreciation. Your PPE's value ability decrease. So also means what? Their value to have your company decrease, right? So it's quite hard for them, PPE, to have your company. We call it depreciation. Okay? So depreciation, 折旧 tell you your PP's value ability decrease after you use it. Or maybe you are not use it. Just because it's getting older, then ability decrease. For example, wear and tear, right? When you start to use your PP, it's getting older and older, right? So when it's getting older and older, means what? Its ability is getting lower and lower, right? So the first one is maybe your PP is getting older. So ability should be decreased. Okay? Second one, maybe it's not because it's older, it's because of what? Out of date. So what does it mean, out of date? It's not the newest one, it's not. Okay? For example, you have an iPhone 16, right? If you have an iPhone 16, then you spend how much to buy it? Maybe $20, okay? But the problem is when iPhone 17 come out, it's on the market. This one will what? Will make your iPhone 16's value decrease. Maybe go to start from $20,000 to $16,000, okay? So your value decrease. Why is that? Value decrease $4,000. Because of what? Because of iPhone 16. Because of iPhone 17. So this is out of date. Okay? So you have your PP's value or your PP's ability decrease. Why? When you use it or when it's out of date, right? So sometimes I have a car, but you know, when a new car on the market, your old car's value will be decreased because always they want a new one, right? Okay. So we talk about these situations will make your PP's value decrease or PP's ability decrease. Then for that situation, we call it depreciation, 折旧. Okay. It's quite common for your laptop, your cell phone. Do you think your laptop cell phone is still the same value? Of course not. So what's the value right now? After you use it 1 year, 2 years, you have to figure out, right? So you have to understand when you use your laptop, your iPhone 1 year. So your laptop, your iPhone depreciation, 折旧. So how much it is? Okay. So what's the value? Okay. If you don't have any questions, then that's depreciation. Okay. So accounting, what we try to do, we want to tell you when your assets. So the cost is your assets, right? So I have the cost, the assets is 1 plus 2. But when you start to use it, or when new product come out, you have to understand your value decrease, right? Or ability decrease. So for that part, value decrease, ability decrease, for that part, we have to tell you that's our expense, okay? So your assets value decrease, your expenses increase, right? Because when your value, your ability decrease, which will no future economic benefit. Okay, then we are going to say that's our expense. So your expense increase. Increase means occur, happen, right? So we have to do that. We have to describe these situations. So, for example, you have the cost $100 after you used your PPE, then you know the value decrease. Okay, so right now your value, how much it is not 100 anymore. Is what? Maybe it's only $80. Okay, so did you find out? For that case, is what? Your assets decrease, right? Then at the same time, the value decrease how much? Value decrease $20. So that $20 is what? Is our expense. So expense increased $20. So we try to let you understand your assets value decrease. At the same time, your expenses increase because you use it. Okay? So depreciation, 这就 we describe the process. Your assets, your PP's value decrease. Okay? At the same time, your expenses for that part value decrease. For that part, expenses increase. So only we do this process, depreciation, 折旧, you will understand your PP's value each year. Okay? Any questions? No problem? Okay. Okay. So then you have to understand, even though we do this, try to allocate the cost to expense. So remember, we try to allocate the cost to expense. Allocate the cost to expense. The process, we call it depreciation. So allocate the cost to expense. For how long? For useful life, right? Because you are going to use it 5 years. So we try to know for useful life 5 years, they process your value, how they change for your value, okay? So after that, after 5 years, then you are going to ask, then how about after 5 years? Maybe you sell it to others, right? So when you sell your PPE to others, do you need to care about that? Of course not, right? So we talk about that process is for your useful life. When you are going to use it during the process, we want to know the depreciation, the process, okay? But remember, it's for accounting. This is only for accounting. Accounting, we try to use accounting methods to figure out the numbers. I just mentioned $20. How could you know it's $20? Could you know? When you use your cell phone 1 year, do you know the value decrease how much? $20? Are you sure? No. Only one way you can find out your value decrease how much. What's the only way? If I use the cell phone 1 year, then the value decrease $20. What's the only way I can find out the value decrease how much? How? Sell it, right? Only when I sell my cell phone to you. If I say, hey, actually, it's $100, and you say 1 year, I'm going to sell it to you. How much money you are going to buy it? If you say $70, so how much my value decrease? $30, right? So only way you can really understand the value decrease is when you sell it to others, okay? So before you sell it, over useful life means what? I still use it, okay? So when you still use it, how could you know the value decrease, how much it is? Impossible. So how? Accounting, we try to use accounting methods to give you a reasonable numbers only. So it's not a true number. It's only we try to estimate the number, okay? So that's why here told you is accounting process. So what does it mean? Means we use accounting methods. Okay? Trying to estimate the amount to describe the value decrease. Okay? So impossible, you know the true value, impossible. Only when you sell it, you will know the true value. So before you sell it, over useful life, then how? We try to estimate the number, to calculate the number using accounting methods. Okay? Okay. So here is the process we have. At the beginning, I have the cost $1,000, right? Remember how to determine the cost, 1 plus 2, right? So after we use accounting methods, try to figure out the cost. is 1 plus 2. Then when we start to use it 1 year, you have to understand your value decrease. So first day, I have my PP $1,000. After I use it, I find out, oh, my value is only $800, okay? So what does it mean? It means your value decreased to $100 after you use it, okay? So your value decreased to $100 after you use it. Okay? Then could you tell me what's your car, your PP's value after 1 year? Is only $800. So your PP's value is $800 after 1 year. Okay? So for that value decrease, we call it depreciation expense. But the problem is, how could you know that $200? Do you know it's $200? I just mentioned, usually impossible. Why is that? You can know the value decreased to $100 only when you sell it, okay? So before you sell it, how could you know it's $200? Impossible. So accounting, we try to help you. How? Use accounting methods to estimate the number for you guys. So that $200, we use accounting methods. To estimate it. Okay? We have 3 accounting methods to help you estimate the number 200. So accounting methods, we have 3 different accounting methods. Okay, any questions? So far you should understand what does it mean depreciation 折旧. The whole process right here is the depreciation 折旧. When you use your PP's value decrease. So accounting, we try to figure out the value decrease, how much it is. Then after we figure out the value decrease, how much it is, then we will get the value after 1 year. So you should do the depreciation. Do the depreciation in order to find out your PP's value after 1 year, after 2 years, after 3 years, okay? But you have to understand, so far all the numbers right here is not true. It's only we accounting to estimate it, okay? It's not because you want to get a true number when you sell it, okay? Any questions? No? Okay, so when we do that, at the end of each year, we don't do it every day. Can you do it every day? Yeah, sure. When you have much time, you don't have nothing to do. You can do it every day. But accounting, we are quite busy. Do you remember chapter 4, adjusting entries? When that kind of things occurred every day, will you do it? Will you do it every day? No, you don't. You will wait until last day, okay? So depreciation, that is like daily transactions occur every day. So we don't do it every day. We wait until last day, do it once, okay? So usually we do the depreciation at the end of each period, okay? Any questions? No problem? Okay, so we do it depreciation at the end of each period, okay? And also, it's better, you have to do that. So even though we do it each period, you have to do that. Can you say, oh, I don't want to do the depreciation? Can you say that? No, you cannot. Why? First, you will not get the value for first year, second year, third year, right? Also, if you ignore the expense, what's the problem? If you don't want to do the depreciation, what's the problem? If you don't want to do the depreciation, the first problem is you don't know the value for each year. For sure, it's not 1,000, right? But how much it is for each year, you don't know yet. The second problem is, if you don't know the depreciation, you will ignore the expense. Then maybe you are going to say, ignore the expense, what's the problem? When you ignore the expense, that will make your net income overstated increase, right? Okay? Overstate your net income means you will overstate your profit. Maybe you say, what's the problem? No, it's the problem because you cannot get a true profit, okay? So that's why you have to recognize you have that kind of expense, okay? Any questions? Overstated net income means you overstated your profit. You cannot get the true profit. So what's the true profit? For example, let's look at your slide, page 45. You have to understand the net sales. What's the net sales? Net sales is the true revenues you earn from customers, right? So I have net sales $1,000. What does it mean? It's the true revenues you earn from customers. But don't forget, nothing for free, right? In order to earn that $1,000, we have a what? We have a different kind of expenses incurred, right? So what's the first one? Cost of goods sold. I want to sell the products to customers. I spend the money to buy the products before, right? So first expense is what? The cost of goods sold. So cost of goods sold is the first expense. About what? About inventory. I spend the money to buy the inventory before. Right now, I sold it to the customers, okay? Not only first expense about inventory, don't forget, in order to sell the products to customers, we have other expenses, right? Like what? Salaries and wages expenses, like what? Rent expense, like what? Like utility expenses, so on and so on, right? And also don't forget, payday expense from chapter 8. Why? When I want to earn the revenue $1,000 from customers, you accept customers what? Oral promises. So do you have to take the risk? Maybe customers cannot pay the money back, right? So are you sure for the $1,000 you really can get back in the future? Not sure, right? Always we have the risk. Maybe some money you cannot get back. So that's why for payday expense, what does it mean? It's our another expense we have in order to earn the revenues from customers. You have to what? You have to take the risk. Okay, so what kind of risk? Some amount maybe cannot get back. Okay, so in order to earn the revenues from customers, you have to take the risk, right? So that's our payday expense. Only consider your payday expense, then you can get your true profit. What else? You want to sell the products to customers. Maybe you have to buy your PPE delivery truck, right? I use my delivery truck, deliver the products to customers. So your trust value decrease in order to deliver the products to customers. So you really earn that $1,000? Of course not. In order to earn that $1,000, you have to use your car. So make your car's value decrease, right? So don't forget, there's also another expense cost we have in order to sell the products to customers, okay? So another one is what? For that depreciation expense. So what does it mean, depreciation expense? In order to deliver products to customers. Okay? So you have to use your car. Okay, so when you use your card, which will make your card's value decrease, right? Okay, so right now you have to understand it's not easy to make the money. In order to make the money, earn the revenues, you have to take the risk. You have to use your car, which makes your car's value decrease. Okay, so only after you consider different kind of expenses, then you can get the true profit you have. Okay, so the true amount, you can get your true profit. Okay, so what does it mean, true profit? The amount, the money you really can put into your pocket. That's yours. Otherwise, it's not yours. Okay, any questions? So that's why each year, each period, we have to consider depreciation, 折旧, because they also is one of expenses we have in order to earn revenues from customers. Okay, any questions? So can you tell me, payday expense $10, depreciation expense 折旧费用 $50. That's true number or not? Payday expense $10. Payday expense $10 is true or is estimate? Estimate, right? We estimate the number at the end of each year, right? Based on accounts receivables. Okay? How about depreciation expense? Estimate, right? I just mentioned is not true. We use different accounting method to estimate it, right? Why? Because impossible to get this number only when you sell it, okay? Otherwise, we don't know how much our value decrease, okay? So for these two numbers, did you find out? Both of them, they are estimate, 估计值. Okay, so did you find out? Actually, for the real life, most of numbers, they are not true. Most of numbers, they are estimate. Like what? Hey, Diane, when you are going to graduate? 3 years later? Are you sure? That's your estimate, right? So we want, but you don't know anything happened during these 3 years, right? Maybe Diane finish all the credit hours in 2 years, so she will graduate in 2 years, right? Yeah, so not sure. So when you think about model things, that's not the true number. That's only your expectation, your estimate. So the same for companies, the same, okay? Any questions? Okay, so since you understand what does it mean, depreciation, when you use your assets value decrease, right? So assets value decrease, no future economic benefit means your expense increase, okay? And also you have to understand all the numbers we just mentioned right here, $50 or here, $200, that is only estimate. We use accounting methods, right? So here just told you there's a process of cost allocation, 成本分摊过程. So what does it mean? We try to use accounting methods to get the numbers, okay? So it's not true. It's only we use accounting methods to estimate the amount. Okay, the amount means the part value decrease. Okay, so all the process is only accounting methods. We try to estimate the numbers. So we call it cost allocation, 成本分摊. It's not asset valuation. So what does it mean, asset valuation? Asset valuation means the assets value on the market. So it's not. Why? Because we didn't sell it. So it's quite hard to know the value in the market, okay? So for market value, in other words, for the market value, it's quite hard to get the market value. (市场价值) So it's not the market value. The value on the market is not. Why? Because market value is very hard to get the market value. It's quite hard to get the market value. So usually it's not easy to get a number. That's why we don't use it. Okay? For example, hey Ashley, my cell phone, iPhone 16, I bought it 1 year. So how much money you are willing to buy it? Just give me any number you want. How much I buy it? $20,000 something, $20,000. So how much money you are willing to buy it? I use iPhone 16 1 year. 16, yeah, not 17. So how much money? Sorry? $60,000. Okay. Then How much money you are willing to buy it? Yeah. You say 1 year. 15,000? Okay. Amelia, how much money you are willing to buy it? Look at me. Look at me. And you say 1 year. How much money you are willing to buy it? Also 15,000. Oh, I don't like you. Higher. Reverie. How much? For free? You can go. Okay, so did you find out? What's that? Market value. Ashley told me $16,000. Market value, I asked Diane, told me $15,000. And Amelia, $15,000. I asked Reverend, told me 0. So what's the problem? The problem is, even though for the same thing, you ask different person, you will get different number, okay? So market value, this number is quite hard to get the number. Also, the number is subjective, 主观的 means what? Depends on different person. They have a different opinion, right? So it is subjective. Okay, so because of this, that's why accounting, we don't use market value because for that number, it's easier to manipulate, 操纵, okay? So we don't use that because they problem. That's why we use accounting method try to estimate the numbers, okay? So the accounting method, we call it book value. So accounting, we use book value. 账面价值. So what does it mean accounting book value? Is using accounting methods. Okay, so these two, they are not the same. Book value, using accounting methods, trying to get a number. Market value, when you go to the market to ask different person, they will give you the numbers, okay? Then maybe you are going to ask, okay, market value, I'll get different numbers. How about book value, using accounting methods, will get the same number or not? Yes, of course. We have the correct answers, right? I tell you one method, each of you should get the same number. Otherwise, you lose your point, right? So I use accounting methods. Different persons use the same accounting method. You will get the same result, book value, okay? So that's why we don't use market value, we use book value, okay? Any questions? No? Let's take a break.